Howdy folks, it has taken us 4 weeks, but we have finally hit upon a roguelike in our little Swindie experiment here. Took a little bit longer than I figured it was going to, honestly, given how oversaturated that genre is in indie games. But that is exactly what we have hit upon in Wizard of Legend. Now, I have mixed feelings as it happens about roguelikes as a genre, and Wizard of Legend did not impress me. But I wasn't exactly sure why to start off with. So we're going to do something a little bit different here. Let's take a look at Wizard of Legend. So, first off, quick summary for those who have never heard of a roguelike or a roguelite. You hear both of them, they're not exactly the same thing, but they're kind of interchangeable. The basic definition is they're games that you're designed to run through multiple times, and they are procedurally generated, meaning that every time you die, some aspects of them change and some of them stay the same. Now, I have mentioned previously that I do think procedural generation is not as good as fully designed games. I just don't think you get the same kind of cohesive experience. It was either in the Tower of Time review or the Ruiner one. Future Ayana, you delectable princess. Could you check out which review I said that in and put it on screen? Thank you, Toots. But yeah, nevertheless, there are games in the roguelike genre that I do enjoy. I think Dead Cells is an absolutely brilliant game. And I'm kind of confused as to why I'm willing to put 200 plus hours into that, and to be quite honest, I stopped a run to come and record this. But I've done 5 to 10 hours of Wizard of Legend maybe, and I'm just kind of done with it at this point. I don't understand why that is. So we're going to do something a bit different in this review, and I'm going to compare the two of them side by side and see if I can work out exactly what makes the two of them different to me. We'll start off with story. Not something that these sorts of games are too big on, owing to the sort of semi-random nature of how they work, and that's actually okay with me as a design decision goes. It's something that I wouldn't normally comment on if a story just weren't there. But Dead Cells has a pretty good story, actually. It's told to you in varying degrees in each run-through. A run takes about an hour, just for reference, and you're never going to get the entire story in a single run. I certainly couldn't argue that sometimes, like in a game like Dark Souls, the story is the driving force behind why I'm playing, but it's nice when I find it. Wizard of Legend seemingly does not have a story once the prologue's over with, which would be totally fine, but the prologue is just so good. It sets you up as a kid going through a museum, and it explains who the ancient wizards were, and even gives you a tutorial of sorts by using interactive museum exhibits. I did not just have to record myself 4 times saying museum exhibits. Seriously, 3 times fast. Try it, guys. Anyway, this concept as a tutorial is a fantastic idea. And then the whole thing just stops. And like Princess Peach when Bowser and Mario finally get together, having been fed up of being played against each other for the final time. I am a sad princess. Maybe singing a little Judy Collins number, which is a joke so many people watching this review are going to have no idea about. But yeah, don't tease me with a great story and then just not have one. It's not fair. Anyway, segues are for losers. What's next? Well, one of the most important things in a roguelike is the progression aspect. As we have been taught with pinatas, it's only acceptable to keep beating a horse with a baseball bat so long as a little piece of candy falls out of it occasionally, right? In Dead Cells, the thing that would be considered permanent progression would be the eponymous Dead Cells themselves. These glowing blue orbs are occasionally dropped by enemies. So long as you get to the end of the stage, any you're currently carrying you get to spend. You get upgrades to spend on, like healing flasks, the ability to recycle weapons for gold, the ability to keep gold between different runs, and the ability to make certain weapons. The way to make weapons available for unlocking is to pick up blueprints during each run, and again, so long as you reach the end of the stage, these are permanent. That's yours, that's safe. I'm making so many references that people watching this review simply aren't going to get. Oh well. In Wizard of Legend, you have crystals, a currency that's permanent that drops occasionally from enemies, and you keep these regardless of if you finish the stage or not. But this is where the game started to lose me. With the crystals, you can buy new spells, or arcana as the game calls them, new relics, new cloaks, and all of these persist through to the next run. Good so far. The thing is, you can only wear 1 cloak at a time, and a large number of the spells and relics just aren't very good. And there's no options to upgrade anything else permanently, this is all you get. Even during some of my worst runs in Dead Cells, I felt I was being put in a position to do better in subsequent ones. In Wizard of Legend, all I ever felt was that I was being set up to go in using slightly different equipment. And even then, once you've got the cloak you want and a couple of decent relics, why bother changing anything? There were times I did runs in Dead Cells and I tried different combinations of weapons and various other things and it just did not work. But so long as I got through a stage with them, I always had a couple of Dead Cells and it felt like the run ultimately wasn't pointless. Wizard of Legend, if I ever went in with anything that didn't work, it felt like all I'd done was wasted about 20 minutes of my life. And I grew up getting told I was going to waste my life playing video games. I don't need the video game to join in on that idea, okay? So we haven't spoken much about what either game is like to play. Well, the two handle their business from a different perspective, one top-down, one side-scrolling, but the overall gameplay is actually kind of similar. You're dodging the way out of enemies, you're using ranged attacks and melee attacks to take them down. I will say overall I prefer the movement and the verticality of Dead Cells, but that's really down to personal preference. One thing that does separate the two, unfortunately though, is performance. Specifically, Wizard of Legend at times seemed to be dropping, was either inputs or frames. I honestly was never entirely certain which. I'm told this was a problem in Dead Cells on the Switch initially as well, but it's long since been fixed. I actually lost a couple of runs to this in Wizard of Legend, and I was far from happy, especially given, as mentioned, there isn't really any permanent progression to speak of when this happens. So as I said, I'm aware this has been a little bit different to most of my Swindie reviews, and honestly that's because I felt the need to answer the question I was having. You know what, in fact, future Ayana, you delectable princess, do me a favour and put on screen the amount of hours I actually spent playing each game. Yeah, see, look at that. And that's without even having the DLC for Dead Cells. But I think having gone through this, I am now slightly less baffled as to why that is, and I think I've worked out what it is I actually want from a roguelike. Turns out, what I actually want from one of these games is just a little bit of progress. Be it a little story snippet, a little bit of a permanent upgrade from the next run, just something per run, so even if I do terribly, I can still feel like I'm making progress. And apparently that's what keeps me going. Hopefully, it's going to be obvious to you which of the two games I'm recommending today. Dead Cells. It's Dead Cells. I'm recommending Dead Cells. I'm recommending Dead Cells, okay? Howdy folks, I hope you enjoyed whatever I had to say about whatever video you just watched, because generic endings are fun like this. If you aren't tired of hearing me talk here, and you want to hear what I'm working on, or just my general thoughts on the day, you can follow me on Twitter. The link is on your screen and in the description below. I also have a Patreon if you'd like to support me and help me keep the lights on around here and put more awesome stuffies on the shelf here. The link is again on your screen and in the description. I know, before anyone says it, I'm a tiny streamer to be having a Patreon. There are no tears or anything, it's just there for you guys. It's like a baby shampoo. There's no more tears. Anyway, thank you again for watching, folks. I release videos every Thursday, so be sure to check them out and check out whichever ones are showing on your screen right now. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. See you all next week. Peace. I'm out.